How are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm all right. It's not as cold as it was in New York, so I feel
There
less
you go.
down because the winter sads, but really fun movie, which is always a help.
Did you
I was
just see it?
I saw it here, but I missed it at Toronto because I was busy watching like the movies that you get told are good, and then you so good. And you're always like, oh, I'm already like I want to
That's
eat. Point it happens, and you're just like, I can't.
so fascinating. I love that. I think that's very interesting, and we all know what you're talking about.
Exactly. It's never the movie's fault, but there is that time where you're like, I don't remember the last time I've eaten. So that's a priority now. And you
As
hope,
a human, we're supposed to eat a couple times a day.
I mean, that is the rumor, but
I've heard it said.
I've heard it said, I've done it, not at a
I've,
film festival.
I've done it too,
Yeah.
Joey.
I mean, there is a salad for later. Like there was a plan in place. No, but once I saw the film, it's amazing how Cord was talking to me about how every time he would go and pitch it, they'd be like, "This is the best script I've read in years. I can't believe this hasn't been made. Amazing." And he goes, "So you're gonna write a check?" And they're like, "Heavens no, get out. Like, we don't want this." It's I imagine as an actor, when you read that, you go, well, I don't get these script kind of things sent to me. And especially for your character, you get to do so much in a kind of constricted
Sure.
period of
Yeah.
time. It's an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, this was a special and rare script to come into my hands, and um, not just for the role's sake. So, when I pick up a script, if I'm looking to see if it's something I want to do, obviously you're sort of leaning into what your character is. And for me as a Black woman, I really do look at context. I think all actors look at particular things, but I'm very specific about context and what is the narrative for this woman? Who is she? Is she a whole person? All of those pieces. And I walked into reading the script looking for those things, and I got distracted by the wonderful nature of this material. I was hooked in from the first scene. I got invested in Monk as a person, the family dynamics and sort of the identification of that. But then this idea that this artist, but just this human being, was trying to make sense of how he sees himself versus how the world sees him. And I was just so intrigued. And yes, it's rare material for many reasons. Both the what was on the written page, but also what Cord set out to do in its tone, its ability to have humor that came out of humanity, that he wanted both layers and both pieces, that there was a lot of space for there to be quiet and unsaid things, which doesn't often happen in stories that are told about Black people. All of those aspects really sort of drew me into this material, and definitely put a finer point on what you don't often see.
Oh yeah, I think so much of the film is, and he even said it, where it's like he's not pitching it towards one audience or hoping that it speaks to someone differently. It's meant for everyone to watch and go, I see something in myself. And I think it speaks to, and it's so funny how counterintuitive it is that when you make things generic, nobody ever relates to it. When you make the movie that like someone will see themselves in this, no one does. But if you make the movie about the story that like maybe this only means something to me, you'll undoubtedly find something that means something to you because, oh, my grandmother didn't look that way, but she spoke that way, or my uncle is just
Yeah,
like
the more specific you are, the truth is, the more universal it becomes.
really.
And I think Cord has a real gift in that area. People are like, what was it like? Were you worried working with a first time director? And what I like to say to people is, he might be a first time director, but he's not a first time human. And he is
Yeah.
incredibly, he has a strong, clear point of view. He has a real facility with language, but he's also incredibly smart, and incredibly smart around, he has an emotional intelligence and an ability to translate that through language that is, we see it in this film.
Oh no, and acting wise, you essentially you want to just trust your director. Like if they made 100 films or one, you just have to trust that like if I'm doing what I think is right and you need to communicate something to me, you're going to do it in a way that'll move us where we need to go. Or if I need 10 takes and nine of them are not good, the 10th one will be what's in the movie and not take six.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's a lot of things that you want in a director, and yet all directors are so different.
yeah.
And so even what you want in a director can come in so many different packages, which is, I think, the beauty of this career, is that you get, there's so many different personalities and how people navigate things. And Cord knew what he wanted, but he also had and gave us a lot of space to do what we do. And I think it's because he doesn't have a lot of ego. He wasn't even precious. He wrote the script, but he wasn't precious with his material, whereas a lot of writers, they literally want the comma where they want the comma. They want the tears where they wrote the tears. They want, they've mapped out your performance, and that has its own gift. But this was a different relationship that was really fun.
Oh, yeah. Also, it's more interesting for you. And two, the funny part of that is always, if a director is real insistent on this, at the end of the day, if it goes well, you're going to be the one who gets the credit anyway. So like,
no, I don't always see it that way. I don't know.
Yes, it's collaborative.
But yeah, I mean, even when it's hard with the director, I still, as an actor, I'm there to be of service to their vision. It's not my vision. I get that's not the role of the actor. And there are very specific and big and broad strokes of what I like to do as an actor and how I like to make choices about things, but it is a collaborative process.
Well, that comes in the role selection also. I think if you're not, if you read the role and go, I have nothing to say about this, I'm completely in service of someone else, this is a job, you're gonna think twice about it, because it's the best job. But also, if you have the ability to choose, you can do something like this. You could do something like the high note. You can do these things they're wildly different, but you're like, these are going to give me room to do things and play.
To play. I mean, this year, since Blackish finished, I did Cold Copy, playing, a woman who barely smiles and only smirks. Manipulative and honestly quite evil. And then Carol Carver in Candy Cane Lane, playing just a kooky Christmas wife of Eddie Murphy. And then this, a Planned Parenthood doctor who is a very caretaking, supportive, holding it all sister.
Yeah. But I think she has some of the best lines in the movie, though, because you have
pretty good.
Well, there's such a limited amount of time to get across the entire brother-sister relationship. And it's not super hard to do, because anyone who has a sibling understands, and it's a move, we get what's going on. But I think it's just a couple of lines in the car. You're like, I get everything about this relationship, and we don't need 10 scenes to build up the relationship. I know every conversation they've had before this.
Yeah. And the thing that was wonderful about that, especially when I did finally watch the finished product, is the relationship is so well established in those first 27 pages that even when I'm no longer on the screen, you feel the impact of who this woman is in Cliff and Monk's life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There is definitely a sense that I felt also. I lost my mom in January, so
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. There's a lot of just stuff where you're like, this used to just happen. This was just done. And I think they're going through that. And that was maybe the most relatable thing in the movie for me, was just they're functioning adults, but they're like, but someone else used to do this. And it was easier when someone else did it. And I think in a real way, the presence is felt in two ways, because there is the I miss my sibling, but there's also they're flawed humans who are greedy, and I would have more time to do the other shit I was doing if my sister was around to help. This is just one more thing we have to do. The frustrations with their mother, they would have 100% put it off on her and gone about their life.
And then the thing that's so interesting about that is the way it propels Monk through,
for sure,
this dilemma that comes up because of his need to now take on a different role in his life.
Oh, I think the movie and his story is very different if she's around to be like, what are you doing? Or shut up and take the money. Whatever the conversation would have been.
Yeah.
He's oh, woe is me. I'm failing my way into awards money and an Oscar probably by the end of it. I'm it's just funny that 10 scenes later, he's probably like moaning, walking up to the Oscar stage for the script. And
He's like,
why won't you catch on? This is not good. And it's just
oh
funny
God.
that it would have taken, I think your character would have been the first one to be like, either, well, you did a thing people like, so shut up, it's good. Or guess what? No, you don't like it? You got paid. And that's nice. Give me money for the hospital. We'll make it work. There. I'll take your guilt. It's just the relationship is so well established that you keep her as a character throughout the film.
Mm-mm-mm.
And I'm sure that was not an accident, but also I don't think you ever know until you have the film sort of released into people's,
Yeah, I mean, I do think that was what Cord crafted.
Yeah.
And it's fun to see that actually take hold. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I think to see, obviously you kind of, I'm sure, have a sense that you're proud of your work. Oh, I did a good job, but you never quite know what the final product would be because anything could happen. But I think once you see it, and
my only gripe, which Cord knows very well, is I tried really hard to not have Lisa smoke. I really didn't want to smoke. And like, I really didn't want to. I pitched so many other things to him. And then when I got on set, obviously they're not real cigarettes. There's no nicotine. Yeah. And I really leaned in to the point that everyone was like, are you sure you're not a smoker? And then when I saw the final film, I was like, Cord, do you realize that you never chose a take where I actually have the cigarette in my mouth after all of that?
Like he's like, yeah, I did it on purpose. Guess what?
Oh my God. I was like, I can't believe that you never watch me inhale.
You're like, I need old-fashioned DVD release with deleted scenes, just everything of me smoking.
I want to see every time I'm smoking because it was torture for me.
There should be like a picture-in-picture you can just have of scenes of you smoking while Monk's doing stuff that she'd be like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, it was really, that was funny to me. It did lean me into being a very different person than I am.
Well, I mean, it makes sense for the character as
absolutely, and that's why I was game. But I really did try to convince him of other things.
I mean, I think that's fair. I think that's the perfect way to go about it, is to be like, at the end of the day, just know I will do this thing, but
I will do it, and I will do it well, and you will never know that I had gripes about it. But
do I have to let me gripe first? Exactly. If there's any chance I can convince you to change your mind, we're going to do that. Have it out. And then if I have to do it, I'm going to do it so well. Yep. Almost like just I did like that. Like there's such satisfaction in that. And like,
I don't know. It took me like 3 weeks, I think, to get all that smoke out of my lungs. I was like
suffering from my art, Cord.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think it speaks to the performance, and it speaks to, I think, everyone in the film is doing that kind of work, that you can enjoy the film on whatever level you want, but you also know that you're watching something a little bit special. And that's, I mean, I'm sure
when I watched it for the first time, I watched it by myself, and it was like literally right on the cusp. I think they had not called the strike. It was like, I think it was like the final moments, and I like went to some teeny little screening room and watched it, and I could not wait. I was by myself in that theater, laughing, crying, and I couldn't wait for it. When it finished, I literally called Cord so fast, and I was like, you have made an extraordinary film, and I'm so honored to be a part of it.
And now we can't talk about it. That was the best part of that.
And then we all shut up for a long time.
That was my joke to him about it. It was like, didn't you pick a great time to make a movie? It was like, great movie. Yeah. Everyone likes it. By the way, none of us can talk about it.
Well, I'm glad we got to where we are, and the strike was worthy and for a good reason. So,
which I think it ties in so well to the film of just like, at the end of the day, something good prevailed. And I think once people now can sort of focus in on the film, they're going to see how special it is. And I think they're going to see how special the performance is. So
thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for doing this.